Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 874A, and today's date is January 22nd, 2016, and the title of the episode is The Economic Recovery Illusion Has Fallen Apart as More Companies Lay Off Employees. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, on this Friday, we see the U.S. government, the central bankers, the high-frequency traders, the plunge protection team, they worked their tails off today to get this market up for the weekend. And they always like to end the week in a positive note. And they need to show the world that everything they're doing is working. Now, remember, the market has nothing to do with the economy whatsoever. The market is completely manipulated. All the economic indicators in the market show us that things are rapidly falling apart. And the stock market is their only tool they have left to convince everyone that everything is fine. And this is why they always point to it. But when this finally does come down and comes down hard, people will say, whoa, the economy just fell apart because the market told us so. But no, we've been seeing the economy fall apart for quite a while now. This is just the last signal to say, yes, it has fallen apart. We are collapsing. But when we look at these economic indicators, we see all across the globe that things are accelerating. I mean, in Venezuela right now, we see inflation, which is running around 275%. They're saying this year, it might climb up to 700%, which will make it impossible for people to afford anything. In the UK, we're seeing that Christmas retail sales, well, they declined. The British consumer basically decided we don't have the funds to spend in retail. And we see that the spending is a huge decline, and it is the biggest amount in over 6 years. And this shows us that the economy is slowing down. And we're seeing this around the globe, where we're seeing retail sales take a hit. The Eurozone economy is going to slow in 2016. Data firm Market, they released earlier today, and it shows a report which shows a slowdown in manufacturing and services activity in the Eurozone in January. They're saying that the Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index hit a 3-month low at 52.3. And they're predicting right now that they're going to see a slowdown in this year. Well, we're seeing a slowdown in the UK, a slowdown throughout Europe. We're seeing a slowdown in South America. We're seeing a slowdown in Canada. We're seeing a slowdown in the United States. Where is all this leading? This is leading to the major collapse of the entire system. And we are definitely headed in that direction. Italy, we understand that their banks are in trouble. They have a 200 billion euro bad loan time bomb right now. And what's very interesting about this, and we know this, as of January 1st of 2016, the bail-in documents, they went live. And Italy purposely waited for the rules to come into effect on January 1st to help the banks. Now, the new rules that came into effect would have put uninsured depositors on the hook for the losses. The same rules require 8% of the bank's liabilities to be wiped out before public money can be used. In short, creditors at Italy's banks would need to take a hit before the government would be allowed to extend state aid. And they waited purposely for these new rules. So it looks like Italy is going to be going inside the bank, and they're going to be doing bail-ins, where they take the people's money. Now, we've seen this in Cyprus. Greece is going to have this happen, and we're seeing it happening in Italy. And we can see at this point They realize that people are starting to catch on that they're doing bail-ins. And this is why they want to go to a cashless society. They don't want people taking their funds out of the banks. And I would suggest to everyone, and this is my personal opinion, and this is what I do, I would take funds out of the bank, keep them around someplace else, only keep whatever you need in the bank to pay bills because you're not getting any interest in there anyhow. And if you're worried about someone stealing, you should be worried about the bankers stealing your money from the inside than someone coming into the bank or coming into your home and stealing your funds. Now we see December existing home sales. They have surged to the most in history after November collapsed. And we see that November collapsed by negative 10.5%, and all of a sudden in December, magically, out of nowhere, they soared by 14.7%. And if you take the 2 months together, it was kind of a wash. And it looks like the year of 2015 was a complete disaster in housing. But people are scratching their heads going, how did this happen? It makes no sense. I mean, everything was struggling along, and then all of a sudden, everything increased. Well, there are certain things that were happening at this point. And we're seeing that since the yuan is being devalued multiple times, the Chinese right now are scrambling to park cash in the U.S. And they went on a spending spree, and they purchased these homes using cash. And they purchased many of them. So we can see at this point, this is not from the American people. This is from foreign entities. This is from the free money from the Fed. This is from hedge funds, investment companies investing in homes. Now the Fed is telling the banks to keep houses off the market. I've been looking around the country, and I've been noticing, and I spoke to 3 realtors. They're saying things are dramatically slowing down and it's getting harder and harder to sell homes. And I look on Zillow, I look on Realtor.com, I look all around, and I see in many areas it's starting to spread now, where houses are on the market longer and longer. People are lowering their prices. They can't move their houses at this time. Larry Yun, he's kind of changing his story right now. He's saying that in 2016, we're going to see some growth in the housing market, but he says the housing market is going to have huge struggles, and we might even see housing decline at this point. And this is where housing is actually heading. It's heading to a gigantic decline, just like the stock market, just like everything else that we've been reporting on. Now, U.S. manufacturing, they've had a little dead cat bounce here. It moved up a little bit to 52.7 for January. This is still the second lowest print for U.S. manufacturing since October of 2013. And the job creation dropped to 4-month lows. But what we're seeing is more and more companies lay off, and especially in the manufacturing and in the energy sector, it's not getting better. It's actually getting worse. On Wednesday, Cardone Industries, an auto part manufacturer based in Philadelphia, announced it's going to be cutting about 1,300 employees from its 2 Philadelphia facilities. Southwestern Energy, based in Houston, Texas, is cutting 1,100 jobs. U.S. Steel, they reported that they're going to be adding to their layoffs. We're seeing Mondelez Bakery in Chicago. They announced they're going to be laying off 277 more workers in Chicago, which they have already laid off around 1,200 in previous layoffs. And then we see Canadian Pacific Railway. They're letting go 1,000 positions, and Schlumberger Ltd. is laying off 10,000. So we are seeing, since the beginning of this year, a lot of stores are closing. We're seeing a lot of layoffs happening. And the market is fluctuating up and down. And we see the Baltic Dry Index right now. It declined by 1 point down to new lows of 354. Basically, the Baltic Dry Index has been declining for 13 straight sessions right now. It is a complete disaster. And it's getting worse. And we realize that countries around the world, they realize the U.S., this private Western central bank economy, is falling apart. They're dumping their treasuries. This is accelerating. And we see Saudi Arabia, they're removing their treasuries and kind of slowly, secretly getting rid of them. Now, what's very interesting, we know Saudi Arabia took a very big hit because they're pumping oil like crazy. We see there's a glut of oil on the market. Prices are being suppressed downward to put pressure on Russia, to help the economy, to help corporations to stay profitable. They were hoping people will go out and spend this extra money that they have. What we're seeing, though, is that Saudi Arabia, nobody really knows how many treasuries they really have. Because what we come to find out is that there's two type of rules the Treasury has. There's one for Saudi Arabia, and there's another for the rest of the countries. And what this means is the Treasury, they have never disclosed the holdings of Saudi Arabia. The rules are completely different. Now, Saudi Arabia's holdings are kept a secret. They're protected by an unusual blackout by the U.S. Treasury Department. For more than 100 other countries, from China to the Vatican, the Treasury provides detailed breakdown of how much U.S. debt each holds. But for some reason, we really don't know how much Saudi Arabia holds, which means if they held a little bit, it wouldn't matter. If they held a lot, that's what matters. And we can see from this, they're holding a lot of treasuries and they're slowly selling them off, which tells us they're making a move away from the United States. China making a move away from the United States. Russia making a move away from the United States. And many other countries are also doing this. And this is why the Fed covertly is purchasing treasuries at this point. And the reason for this is that the economy, the private Western central bank economy, is completely imploding on itself. And these countries realize it. We see everything flowing from the west to the east. And it's only a matter of time before it all comes crumbling down. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.